all about virtual assistant and chatbots. So we are going to talk about virtual assistant, artificial intelligence, because that's underneath everything, and chatbots. And so just to introduce myself, I'm Jean-Jacques Toumazet from Airbus. I will be the moderator of this session, meaning that once I'm said that as a moderator, I won't be from Airbus anymore. Just to know that I'm working on this area, but maybe for embedded and cockpit application, and that will not be the exact purpose today. What I propose is I will introduce the different participants of the panel, and each of us will just introduce himself by saying why they are doing some virtual assistant, and then we'll start on the round table. So I'm pleased to have Laurent Pouget from Airbus, François-Marie Lesaffre from SOPRA-STERIA, Charles-Marie Dejardin from Google, André Joly from SimSoft Industries, and Yann Lechelle from SNIPS. This panel is composed of big companies and users like Airbus, for instance, integrators like SOPRA-STERIA, makers of, I would say, fundamentals of virtual assistant and technique like Google, and startups like SNIPS and SimSoft Industry. So now, first part, just to let you understand why these guys are here and why they are interested by this stuff. So a very quick session about that, and then we start to talk a little more about why we're interested by this topic about virtual assistant.
Merci. Vous pouvez utiliser l'application Twitter pendant cette table ronde. You can use Twitter apps with hashtag Make Europe. On verra à ce moment-là vos questions apparaître. Merci.
So the virtual cognitive assistant is very interesting for us, for Airbus, because we are already highly digitalized. We are even maintaining this effort, and we set up recently a digital transformation office in our own organization in order to have a even more ambitious digitalization plan. And what can we do with the data? We can do some statistics, KPIs, etc. But we have the ambition to extract from that much more, and in particular some key knowledge and intelligence. And the techniques of artificial intelligence, we believe, we strongly enable us to develop some much more ambitious projects and products. Could it be for the support of our aircraft, or for inventing new services related to the operations of the aircraft?
We, as integrator, we have big companies for clients, especially, for instance, Airbus. And as you have seen, there are lots of expectations on artificial intelligence for our clients. So it's natural that we are involved in this topic for the benefits of our clients. So we are also absolutely convinced that in our companies, artificial intelligence is going to be a cornerstone for the digital transformation. It's going to change the business. That's why we are involved in this topic, and we have been involved now for, let's say, something like 3 years at the group level, with a strong investment in this technology at group level, but also in the various laboratories and also the various BUs. And especially for the topic of the virtual assistants, we have been involved in this topic for now approximately 2 years.
Hi, so Charles-Marie Dejardin, sales engineer at Google. So I guess you have already heard from Google Assistant, yeah, which is our virtual assistant, which is now embarked in Android. And why am I here? Because, well, of course, this assistant we offer to the public, and also because we are very focused on machine learning, artificial intelligence, and this kind of stuff, and we give company access to this kind of technical bricks to empower them and to give them the ability to build this kind of project on their side also. So we have, for example, natural language processing bricks that you can use, or speech to text technology you can also use for this kind of project you may have in these domains.
André, Joly, SimSoft industry. So, of course, we are a young company, a small company, so we do not tackle the complete spectrum of artificial intelligence. We focus on very specific topics. And we develop virtual assistants dedicated to field workers in the industry. And in that particular area, we try to focus on the way to use artificial intelligence and virtual assistants to collect and structure information coming from the field. This means return on experience, for example, and even more complex, how to collect knowledge from the field worker using artificial intelligence and virtual assistant.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, Yann Lechelle, COO at SNIPS. SNIPS is a startup that was founded a couple of years ago, and we're focusing on voice-first applications. We believe that the future will actually bring voice to the forefront with the explosion of IoTs. Every single device will have the capability to interact with us, and what is more natural than voice? Typically, there has been an evolution in the way we interact with devices, and gradually we're going with natural interfaces. So voice for us is the natural evolution for interaction. So as a result, we built middleware so that every company that produces an object or a user experience is able to use that technology to implement the whole chain. And that starts with voice identification, voice filtering, also the ability to convert speech to text, then NLP, NLU, all the way back to dialogue, back in text-to-speech. So this whole chain we're building in a way that is unique, because we believe that as soon as you interact with your voice is similar to your fingerprint, it's a signature, so it's a very private element. As a result, we built the technology so that it runs locally on devices, as opposed to using the cloud. So it's a radical way of thinking about interacting with a layer of artificial intelligence on device. And so this is what we're working on.
Okay, so this was just to let you better know all my friends. But remember, okay, so in the 70s we had this movie, 2001 Space Odyssey, when we had this computer, HAL 9000, which was a computer which was interacting in natural language with Dave, which is the name of the astronaut. And it was asking questions, getting answer. It was science fiction. And about a couple of years ago, we just saw these smartphones coming. Sorry, it was not Google, it was Apple. With Siri, and then we got Google Now, and we start to have something where we can talk with with our smartphone. And it came real, and in case in the one part of the business, which is a customer business. Okay, so this all it's a virtual assistant. But finally, we see that we have chatbot, we have virtual assistant. Finally, what is today a virtual assistant, at least for consumer, for daily life? Okay, maybe Charles, you can start to say a little, okay, as a virtual assistant provider, what you do, and feel free to interact then.
So what I know for now, I don't think we are embarked for now on spaceships, but on mobile for now. So we give access. What's virtual assistant? It's just giving you access to control through your voice instead of typing things, looking up things. I mean, if you want to know how long it will take to you to go to work because of the traffic, you just can ask him and he will answer it directly. So you have some kind of interaction. You can ask him questions. You can, he can talk to you about your agenda. He can buy for you online. This kind of services are brought to you through voice interaction instead of typing the usual way as we did it for now on the internet. So yeah, in fact, it's just helping you out, bringing new services to you in a more interactive way, being able to ask questions and get some replies and get some actions done directly, in fact.
Yes, but finally, we see that the answer to some specific task. Yann, maybe when we were preparing that, we said, yes, but that's a virtual assistant, that's not a chatbot, which is different. Okay, and finally, okay, if we want to interact freely, just talk about everything, what do you think about that?
Well, I think there is, as you said, Hollywood typically portraying AI as a danger for humanity. We also project to ubiquity and all that. That's going to be in over 10 years. In 2017 up to 2020, the idea is that virtual assistants can only perform a few things. And perhaps some of you know of the Turing test. We are nowhere near to be able to have a conversation with a computer. And in fact, I think most people don't want to have a conversation with computers. So we're thinking that there are platforms, such as Google, that do a good job at being fairly generalist for certain queries. And our approach is to actually be very concrete with very specific use cases for certain verticals. Because the theory is that typically there's going to be more and more assistants as Amazon and Google and Apple educate the users to use voice. So it's a lot about user adoption, pedagogy, but as well as verticalization and industrialization of voice. So I think we're very far from the expectations and the fantasy. So it's not the immediate subject for us.
Yes, and if we're looking about the way we interact with them and how people are able to accept, if we go now from a general customer point of view, starting to go a little more to business applications, what about, for instance, the way to have people to accept this kind of new way to interact with the system? Maybe,
yes,
André, you?
I think this is something new compared to the past introduction of technology in the industry. The traditional way of having industry innovation is that the industry works on a specific topic and then it spreads to the general public. For this time, it's completely the reverse. That means that the public, with the help of Google and IBM, etc., they first adopted this type of approach. They now agree to speak with their cell phone without any problem, to ask questions, to interact with all the limitations that you have mentioned. And now what we think is that it creates a need in their work. So while working and in the industry, performing their daily tasks, etc., they look for such technology. And they say, okay, we use that on the weekend, but we will be happy to use that on a daily life as well. So this is, for us as a startup, it's a very good advantage because we do not have to convince the people. Thanks a lot, you have made the job.
Just one comment on that, because it's a very good point, and clearly it makes me think of the movement that happened with the smartphones. Remember perhaps the bring your own device, BYOD, where people at home had better smartphones than what the company could provide. So at some point people forced the companies to use consumer products. And in a way, voice is starting from the edge and entering the industry.
Okay, so now we have a first vision of this topic. he started in the business to customer market, but now going more to business. And maybe François-Marie is starting. You have some example already of application of virtual assistant?
Yes, of course. The question that arises in the business, to continue what said André, is that we do not want to have virtual assistants that are able to perform all the tasks, as we can see, in the normal life or the regular life. So it's important to identify some business cases in which it's going to bring value inside the company. So to bring help to the people in their daily work, in their daily life, but the professional life. Let me give you some examples. Everyone, I think you have experimented the fact that sometimes you have problems with your computer. You have not, the passwords, you cannot manage it, and so you have to need to ask for the support of someone who is going to help you. Okay, this task is not really complicated, but it's really important to have the answer in real time, at the very moment that you need it. It's a very good candidate for the virtual assistants. Not so complicated, very useful. Another example that we have lived in our company. At a certain moment, both companies, SOPRA and STERIA, mixed together. And the regulations for human resources were quite different. So for sure, we had a lot of support for that. It took a lot of time. So we put in place a virtual assistant to help in the human resources to give, the answer. For instance, I'm married. Can I have leave? I'm a man. Can I have a maternity? No. You're male. You cannot. Well, this kind of interaction. And the next step also is to bring help for applications, not only IT services or low-level services, but for the application in daily life. Typically, when you have to design a piece, well, you have problems to use the sophisticated, computer-aided system, so you can bring help for the system designers, for instance. That's some examples.
Yes, we are talking about the examples, but as an introduction, we are talking also about actually talking, meaning that we have some voice integration, but that's not always the case. Sometimes we have text integration. Okay, people are chatting and they have some intelligence in front of them. Sometimes they even don't know it. Sometimes they use natural language. And I'm asking to André, what about, is it only vocal controls that's the only solution, or is it a mix of different things, or is it better to chat than talk? What is your point of view?
I think the best is to be safe. That means that when someone interacts with the system, he wants to have an interaction. And he wants to have, if he asks a question, he wants to have an answer. So whatever means he's using, he wants to have something. So if the voice does not work, he needs to be able to type the text or to interact with another way, with gestures. There are many ways to interact with the system now. You can, if you think about augmented reality, you can use virtual glasses to interact with an environment. You can use voice to interact with it. You can touch a screen. You can touch a virtual screen. There are many, many ways to interact with systems. It does not. It has to hide the intelligence that is behind. This is true for the user, but you need to provide him different ways of interactions. And I think, of course, I agree with you. Voice is a very good way. That is not very. That is not already used a lot. Okay, so we need to use it more and more, I think. But we need to keep the other ways in order to be safe in human-to-machine interactions.
And Yann, just to complete that, what is your point of view? Because there are many things behind that. Voice interaction, you can have just, I would say, voice control, like we know already for years, when you're asking for some services and said, oh, okay, you want this service, say that, and then say that. Okay, but maybe the interaction is more in natural language. But natural language is, first, is it a good way to interact? Second, what about natural language? And then natural language is sometimes dialogues. Okay, so what is your point of view on that? How to interact with natural language? Do we have dialogue? Don't we have?
So first of all, I mean, I again rebound on what you said, and I cannot not comment on that, because you said we have to hide the technology. This is our tagline. We want to use technology to make technology disappear. And we think AI is a substrate. AI is the technology which powers those natural interactions. So, if you look 30, 40 years back, people needed to have a PhD to operate a computer. And then they needed to have a degree. And recently, with the iPad, a lot of parents say, oh, my kid is a genius, uses the iPad better than I do. And I say, no, the genius is you, the parent, who's been using the mouse for so many years. So if you can see the evolution of interaction, the machines are getting more intelligent and adaptive to us, not the reverse. So voice is definitely not the only way to interact. We are focusing on voice now because this is one way to actually tackle the market. But clearly, artificial intelligence, which, by the way, is just a set of algorithms, it's the convergence of big data and algorithmic exploitation of data. The substrate allows to disambiguate the context. And so when a human being says something, the machine should be able to extract the context to make sense of the request. So, we're only at the beginning. For us, the idea is to actually narrow the focus so that, for instance, if you have a vacuum cleaner, a robot, and this robot only does vacuuming, then you should talk to it in a way that comprehends the command. You're not going to ask your vacuum cleaner to do coffee for you. Doesn't make sense, right? So the machine should be contextually oriented to understanding commands about cleaning up, and reversely for the coffee machine. So context, narrow definition in 2017, it will be a different story in 2025. And then, of course, using all sorts of signals from the environment to disambiguate the query. Because human beings are very good. I mean, we are disambiguation machines. We see, we abstract, we evaluate, and we make compromises. So this is what we do, and this is what machines are starting to build into their processes.
So we have a question, actually, thanks for people in the room, because you see the question, that's not my case. But we have a question which was, how can people can be prepared to the arrival of chatbot in their work life? Maybe, Laurent, you want to answer to that?
This is just my point of view. Chatbots first. As said previously, a chatbot is not just a voice command. Voice command, it already exists in your smartphone. OK, Google. And we ask questions. He tries to find where is the answer, and he gives you the answer. A chatbot is doing a conversation with you. Where can I go and why, and did you see it, etc., etc. So it is much more complex, and we are testing chatbots by Airbus, and I can tell you, for the moment, still for me, it's still a research topic. So if the answer is how can we be prepared to welcome voice command, it is already there. We need to have the reflex if we want to do that, but it should not be mandatory. Now, when we will have chatbots, we will probably see much more the benefit of having a real virtual conversation with more information. And I believe that if the chatbot is giving valuable added value to us, we will use it. Otherwise, to be dead born, we will not use that. And it has to be seamless and really give an added value for somebody who, at the moment, does not believe he needs it. We have to prove that we deliver an added value. Voilà. Alors obviously, the new generation will be more keen to start with that than the elders, but that's life.
We can see also the professional life as a collaborative one. If we look at the way we work together, we do not work alone. Performance is not provided alone. So we are used to work together with people. Why? Because we need help. We need help in order to make right decision and to make good job to some extent. So when you have an artificial intelligence assistant virtual, if it's correct, for sure, if it brings value and help, why not use it as we do between humans? So from my point of view, it can easily, whether it's correct, whether it brings good value, it can easily enter, in the professional life.
Thanks. Laurent, you were saying it's still a research topic. But anyway, Airbus is interested to work on virtual assistant and chatbots. So my question is very simple. Why? What are the points that interest you?
I will answer by some concrete examples. I have two things in mind. For the support of our beloved customers, we have a portal, Airbus World, and an application where they log their question when they have a problem. And a support engineer by Airbus gets the question and types the answer. Oh, okay, it's a gate. It's free of charge for the airlines and it's a cost for Airbus. And most of the questions are simple. So the first thing, I want the portal of Airbus to be active. So I want a virtual assistant capable to answer to the simple questions to the customers. For me, it is within the next 2 years. It is feasible. Then, for the complex questions in the same portal, the virtual assistant of the portal, which I will call an active portal, then it will no more be a passive portal, it will be an active portal, will not be able to deliver the answer, and we will not try to reach the stars. We will give the answer, the question to the support engineer, and then the virtual assistant will help the support engineer by analyzing some similar cases, so case-based reasoning, semantic understanding of our knowledge databases, data analytics, etc., etc. And based on those very powerful tools, he will propose some answers to the Airbus support engineer. And then there we have another version of the chatbot for complex cases. And then the support engineer of Airbus will give the answer to the customer. So in both cases, we have chatbots, simple cases, can be automatic. For the complex things, I think we will not go to purely automatic artificial intelligence, but I like to say that it will be more augmented intelligence for the experts.
Actually, I have the same question for you guys, which is at least on your side. For instance, André, what your customers are asking for? Why do they want to use this kind of assistant?
It's exactly the same answer. They want augmented intelligence for their users. This means that because the fear of some field workers in the industry is that artificial intelligence will replace them, as we have seen with the robotics, etc., which is not true. So what they think now is that their workers need to be augmented, not only in terms of way to work, but also with their way to analyze the situation, to understand what happens in a machine, for example, with receiving IoT signals, etc., in order to take the good decision at the good time, assisted by a system. The problem saying that is that the problem is to keep the worker aware of what he's doing and responsible for his actions as well. So, and this is the very thin line between assisting someone and providing assistance to someone. Okay, so this is what we need to work, and this is what people are working on to find the best trade-off for that.
And I would like to complement that regarding the question, because you're addressing the world of industry, of factory, people working on assembly line, for instance. okay? Which is very different from a population of engineer or almost geek sometime,
Yes.
okay, liking to use this kind of media, able to talk with a system. Or do you see a difference with that, or do you see that something which is a different step or not, having this kind of people and this kind of way of working?
The main difference is on the type of dialogue we can establish with the field worker, the length or the complexity of the dialogue, and also on the mandatory steps that we need to free the hands of the worker, because the worker makes something with his hands most of the time, and he needs to be able to, in our case, to structure some information based on a dialogue activity without having to use his hands. And this is something very, very specific and interesting for the people we are talking to, of course.
So we're mostly focusing on B2B2C, so for consumer applications. However, there are some use cases where we can indeed power an application for an employee, a field worker as well. The idea really is to augment mostly, not necessarily to replace the job. I can see in the case of chatbots where, in fact, a lot of the questions are wasting someone's time. Or if you think voice, sometimes you're on the phone trying to reach the customer service, and you're waiting for something to happen. Typically, your answer could actually be answered, or at least pre-qualified in that period of time through a chatbot, a vocal chatbot. So it's not just about saving human time, but it's also filling up the capacity and making sure that people can be answered in due time. So there's a lot of vectors, and I think these solutions will definitely help on many fronts. But people have first to reimagine the possibility of using voice or language with machines. There's quite a bit of education with that.
Thank you, Yann. Please, if you have some question you want to ask, just there are some already. Okay. Ah, no, it's not a question. It was just a remark. So, just raise your hand and take a mic. Okay.
So we've heard some thoughts already about how chatbots should be used. What I've heard from you so far are sort of views from inside the company going out. This is how we can save time, this is how we can speed things up and so on. I'm interested on your thoughts from the customer's side, because personally, and I suspect you as consumers also, have had some irritating experiences with chatbots and so on. So what are you doing to take into account the consumer's viewpoint?
Perhaps a quick answer on that. For us, the key today, again in 2017, is to bring industrial strength to the interaction. So that's why we are narrowing the context, making sure that the interaction is dedicated to the one device. So if it's going to be for a vacuum cleaner, then the domain of expertise is limited to the vacuum cleaner. That's it. So focusing, narrowing, and contextualizing. Because otherwise, people will stop using it. As simple as that.
Just a compliment, keep it simple to make sure it works.
I think, anyway, the technology has to be seen almost like magic. I mean, if you don't like to interact with the thing you are interacting with, if you're irritated by something, there's something wrong there. There's something that had to be worked on. So, I mean, it's work in progress. We are making huge improvements towards a real capacity of interaction, bringing, but I mean, the real idea behind all of this is bringing you the capacity to get rid of things you don't really need, which don't bring value to you. Is it in your personal life? Is it in your work or anything? For example, setting up a meeting with somebody has not, in fact, value. You know you have to meet somebody, but knowing at what time and checking agendas and checking if a room is available and this kind of things, it's not useful. So taking some kind of technology just to get rid of this kind of things is great, is an improvement, but if it irritates you, if it's not at the level you expect it, definitely it has to be worked on. And once again, it's work in progress, and probably in the future things are going to work better on this side too.
I think your question is really the question of artificial intelligence. That means that when you discuss with a machine, at the moment when you do observe that it's a machine, it's when you find it to some extent not natural. So you are irritated, because what you want, what you expect, is to have a complete natural dialogue. And that's more or less, you know, with intelligent answers for sure. And that's more or less kind of definition for artificial intelligence. And as it was said, we are not at this moment right now, especially if you consider from a consumer point of view that you can address a lot of various topics, you know, to discuss with. That's why in the professional life, to some extent, it's a little bit more easy or less difficult, let's say, because you are going to focus on a certain domain. And in this domain, in this technical domain, as we have already exchanged, maybe it's easier to be more natural, more accurate, you know, more helpful, because you can do that. But we are progressing, so you can be sure that you're going to be irritated for a long time, you know, right now, and with people as well. Huh?
Just to complete, I think, as I said before, first it has to give a valuable support to the people who are using it. Otherwise, and second, I think that cognitive science is there to give an answer to that. Artificial intelligence is a human in the loop. It is very important. We should not forget it. And then to develop such applications, virtual assistant, it should have some cognitive, let's say, behavior. So we work with psychologists, we work with linguists, with social, etc., etc. It's in terms of application on the science. We have a lot of. For example, Google is used to that. They look at some startups for a specific cognitive topic, and when the product is interested, they buy the company and they integrate it into the suite. And so progressively, we introduce more and more cognitive applications into the traditional softwares to make it cognitive and human-friendly. But as I said, first it has to give a good answer. Voilà. So it's still very much in progress.
Yes, exactly, Laurent. You were saying some minutes ago, yeah, it's still research, and where everyone was talking, say, yeah, that's something which is very promising, and today we can do a lot of things, and we can talk to our smartphone, but personally, when I try to talk in English to my smartphone, okay, I understand most of my words, I'm lucky, but some of them are not good, okay, it doesn't interact so well, okay, so even being in the psychology area, before already is not even able to understand my word. And so just to introduce, for you people, I want today to build a virtual assistant. What is available, what is missing, what are the stakes today, okay, the hard point, or everything that is difficult to have or difficult to set up. At least from a customer point of view, for instance, Laurent, what about you? If tomorrow you want to set up a virtual assistant, what is the main difficulty you have in Airbus?
To gather the data, because the data are in several silos. Several clouds, some are public, some are private. Some companies do not want to share their data. So it's all dealing about transforming the 20th century spirit to this new century spirit, where we are in an open world. We have to open and trust that opening our data will at the end give us a benefit, which is not in the state of mind of most of the companies today. So we have to. This is the first point. If you don't have the data, you can do nothing. After, the difficulty is just about us to find the good step approach and not try to be too ambitious and fail. It is the change management is difficult because, as I said, it is human in the loop, and we are not used to that.
Okay. Charles, in Google, what is something which is really some tricky point you have to solve today regarding this kind of technology?
To be completely honest,
tell us everything, okay? Even secrets and so on.
I'm not at all some kind of high-level machine learning expert, so definitely data is key. That's for sure. You need a lot of data to improve. I mean, when you have to transcribe what you say to text, you have to take into account that you don't have the same voice as I am, you don't have the same accent as I am, you don't speak even the same language as I do, and in the end, making sure something is going to work like in 100% of the situation is not really objective. I mean, technology isn't perfect. I mean, even when I listen to somebody, I don't always take everything what I hear, so definitely a computer works exactly the same thing. But with a lot of data, you can make sure to improve and to go further and to try to grasp more and more the meaning of what people say, to transcribe text better, etc. What do we have to do to continue to improve? I mean, continue to gather data, continue to innovate and make sure the products we build are aligned with what people want, and yeah, continue making progress in this kind of technology, machine learning, algorithms. I mean, we are far from there now. I mean, there's still a lot of work to do, even in a company like Google. Anyway.
I would like to complete the question, sometime I was talking about the language itself. When we are talking all together, we use a certain language. When someone is working in a specific industry, you have some specific language. Specific language composed of acronym. In Airbus, we are well placed about that. We have plenty of them. Or some type of words are more used than other. That means that we have somewhere a kind of domain-specific language. And what about, do we have the training data set for this kind of domain-specific language, or for the time being we have data sets that are always what is spoken by everyone, okay? And that could create some misunderstanding by the systems themselves.
We don't have the domain-specific language. When we test some solutions such as Watson or other on a specific domain language, it doesn't work as it is marketed. But it's learning, so there are learning capabilities, and it's just a question of time and money, and it will be okay. For the moment, it's more the civil world language, but bon, it's a question of time, I think.
I can comment on that if you want. In the industry, a lot of companies have made this work already for many years, just to enable their people to talk together and to talk together on programs that runs for across different generations of workers. Working on the vocabulary, working on the acronyms, working on understanding what a word means. You have companies in France and in Europe who already made this work, just to gather specific thesaurus of their specific fields, their specific work. So of course we can make use of that. That helps a lot. As we said, we need to be very narrow and focused. And using this type of thesaurus helps to be very focused.
So I think underlying this discussion there is a big elephant in the room, that is data, of course. The algorithms are built on that. But forgive me, but I think data at scale has diminishing returns. In other words, it's not because you're going to have exponential data collection that your algorithmics is going to be exponentially good. And we are seeing that in certain domains. In fact, so not Google, but this time Microsoft. Microsoft has pretty much solved language, not translation, but captation. So in other words, transducing speech to text. Microsoft achieves levels above 95%, I think, if I remember right. Human beings are actually below that. Context allows us to solve the last bit. But in terms of hearing the words properly, then machines have already solved that. And there's no need for a lot more data. So that's the good news. That's the good news for all new companies coming into the field and taking the established models, refine them at the edge, but at least we can already build on that.
Yeah, I mean, you're right on this point. Definitely, understanding something has always to take into account the context, and that's how effectively we do understand when we talk together, because we know where we are, we know what we do together, etc. And this is also key, yeah, for sure. So data is key for this first kind of big part of understanding the words. In fact, just the basic step. But if you definitely want to go deeper and to understand like you do, I mean, you are very focused on specific domains, and this helps you, in fact, improve your results, because you know exactly what you have to solve. And this helps you out in this kind of solution, because you know where you go. If you look at some general assistants like Google Assistant, it's complicated to have this kind of high-level context. You definitely know a lot of the users because you are there. You know where he kind of lives. You have some general context, but you don't know precisely what his intended, what his intent is, where he really want to go. And in this kind of situation, definitely being focused on a specific domain helps out and improves the result for sure.
Yes, regarding the performance of an intelligent system, so we are talking about more or less the knowledge that is inside the intelligent systems. We can easily agree on the fact that you need algorithms, as we said, and knowledge. Let's talk about algorithm afterwards, but if we focus on the knowledge, we made a lot of progress in order to be able to capture that through analysis of language, for instance, and so on. From a project point of view, I mean, from a knowledge engineer point of view who wants to design a specific intelligent system for for dedicated task. The first question that I'm going to ask is, where is this knowledge? Sometimes it's in the data, as you said. Sometimes it's in the brain. Sometimes it's a mix. So I have first to know what is going to be the source of the knowledge, and the source of the knowledge is also regarding the decision that I want to take with the system that I'm going to deliver. And it's the cooperation between the man and the machine that's going to take the right decision. So this focus on the knowledge that I have to acquire. How to do that? Really, it's a complicated problem. I think we have progressed, but it still remains a big issue for the intelligent system. I think that we can agree on that. It's not so easy to do that, especially when you're dealing with companies like Airbus, in which you have a very wide context, wide domain, and a lot of concepts. So we are going to be driven by the application that we are going to deliver. I think it's the right point of view. Otherwise, if you want to make, for instance, a complete ontology of a domain, it's really hard work.
Thanks, François-Marie. This raises me a question. We are talking about some virtual assistants that can be used in business, okay, making some task for specific domain. But finally, we can interact with them almost in natural language. But finally, when you are in front of this system, how far can we know what we can ask and what we cannot ask? What does the assistant know and what he doesn't know? Okay? Which is, how far can I ask something to my virtual assistant and sometimes say, oh, okay, it doesn't know to answer me this kind of topic. But if it's very narrow, at the end of the day, say, okay, forget it, you don't know anything about anything. Or just to see how to qualify the knowledge of the assistant or being able to understand how far we can use it.
A very quick answer. An intelligent system knows what it knows and normally knows what it doesn't know. So it can answer, I don't know.
To my point of view, it relies a lot on the cognitive science. If you think about the revolution of smartphones at the beginning by Apple, it was natural to click on it because it has been synced, it has been designed for that. So it's our job to design our virtual assistant so that you naturally understand what it will be able to provide you and for what purpose it has been designed. This is why I said that we need to understand this type of virtual assistant as with different ways of interactions that can come from the human, of course, but also interactions coming from machines, as you said, and in order for the human to really understand naturally what he can do with it.
I think we have to go back to industrial design. Form follows function, and function follows form. In other words, when you see a doorknob, well, there's an axis, and you turn the knob, and the door opens. You're not going to take the knob and pull it up. It makes no sense, except for maybe in an airplane, when you want to get rid of the window. But essentially, I think we are a little bit over-ambitious, maybe trying to copy what Hollywood is teaching us about what assistants may be. So again, back to our approach, which is to make sure that we are building solutions for devices that have one function. In that case, it's pretty obvious, but it's still very hybrid. In other words, when we see an animal, we don't try to have a conversation with the animal. We know the animal may respond to simple things, but we don't have a conversation unless we're out of our mind. But so again, form follows functions, and this will only get better. And we get down to perhaps the notion of there's the empathy level with the devices. And I think, for instance, in Japan, people are more in tune with what a robot, a humanoid, may bring. They're more at ease with it, perhaps because they don't have the same, this is very subtle differences, of course, but maybe people in Italy need this actual friction with humans because they capture a lot of signals. Maybe in Japan, it's a lot more, it's at a different level. So therefore, humanoids have the right amount of empathy for service-oriented interactions. So again, empathy, form, to me, that's the answer. Otherwise, the only thing is really marketing, telling people what this device may respond to. In fact, we are benefiting. Google hasn't really started doing that. Amazon has not arrived with their Amazon Alexa in Europe yet, or in the UK just now. Apple is the only one who is globally spending marketing dollars to teach us about what Siri can and cannot do. So Siri was very disappointing 2 years ago. And in the US, it's 20% of the population that uses Siri. It's doubling every year. So that means that people will start to lock in the queries they can ask to their assistant. So by now, they have figured out that asking coffee to their Siri assistant is not going to work. So they're not going to ask that. And they're not going to be disappointed because they know that they can ask for the weather, the age of the president, who's the current president in France. That's a tricky question because we're in between. But anyways, so you get my point.
Thanks, Yann. Yes?
Hello. I'm Diogo. I'm from FabLab Luxembourg. I'm my background is
close to the mic, please.
Yeah, mechanical engineering. And you keep referring to these individual systems where we can get very good at telling like a vacuum cleaner, or more specifically for industrial setting, like a CNC mill machine. You're not going to ask to make coffee, of course. So in the future, you see these individual systems around the factory or around the house, bringing it more to a consumer. Or you see like products like Alexa, where like you have like more of like a mainframe, and then you from there you control the house or the factory from that specific point. Thank you.
So I have an answer specifically for you, because you can actually go to our website and build your assistant and download it to a Raspberry Pi. So we are building technology that runs on device, on a very small device, because we do believe that in the future a lot of connected devices can embed a computer, and a Raspberry Pi Zero costs $5. So we are trying to make our models run on a $5 computer. 5 years from now, every lamp can embed a computer, therefore can embed voice. So, you know, the switch is an invention that we created in the past couple hundred years, let's say, but it's artificial. The switch is artificial. Light is artificial. So why not jump to voice to interact with the lamp? Light on, light off.
Do you have some other question in the room? Okay, there's one there.
Hello, I witness a lot of people getting frustrated with their VA and starting scolding them very badly. Is there a way to kind of improve empathy with the machine, and maybe the machine will work slower if you speak badly to it, or maybe it can have some kind of face expression that, like finding a way to have more empathy between man and machine, and don't having like getting really frustrated with like the candy machine or the pub machine. You put the coin in and the can doesn't fall, so you start punching it, but there you have a machine where you speak. So you start speaking badly to it, and I don't like it.
Okay, yeah. I'm frustrated as well because I'm moderator, I don't have to answer. So,
thank you for your question. I mean, you are talking about the capacity to interact with a machine as you would like to interact with a human being, you know. And there are some already existing today sentiment analysis, you know, that is able not only to understand what you are talking about, but the level of relation that you have in the communication with the machine, and then to adapt the dialogue according to that. And it's pretty intelligent to do that. I think that's what you expect and what you're saying. So yes, it's something that is coming. For instance, also with other, you know, senses, typically, you know, the smell or things like that. Good. Not only voice.
Yann, you wanted to add something?
Maybe a side answer. This makes me think that a lot of the assistants have a woman name, and so they are by design a little, you know, biased or sexist. So I don't know if you want to punch your assistant. You know, I have an issue with the fact that it's a woman's name. I sort of appreciate that Google has no name for it, and that's interesting as well. So, you know, psychologists will have better answers for this typically, but I think we will see an explosion of assistants down the line, and one of the aspects that we're working on is the personality of the assistant. And again, if you can build a personality that is linked to the object or the use case, it starts to make a lot of sense. So it goes towards empathy. It doesn't mean it's going to solve it soon, but at least it's one way forward.
And another side answer, I think at the moment everything is true what has been said in terms of empathy, understanding the mood of the people talking to assistant, but I think at the moment, in something that needs to be operational, we cannot hide that this is a machine at the end. So, and we need to go first through this step to make sure that people understand that they talk to a machine. And then in the future, maybe, we can go back on developing empathy and mood analysis, etc., that will smoothly hide that and mix the dialogue that you have between a man or a machine. But I think it's in the second step.
Okay. This make a transition to the last step of the talk, which is how we can see the future in 2 years or in 10 years, because finally virtual assistants, they came, at least vocal assistant, in 2011, if I remember well, with the iPhone 4S. In little more than 5 years, it really became very popular. A lot of companies, a lot of products integrate this kind of stuff. How do you see this evolution within 2 or 10 years from now, the capabilities regarding the emotion and so on and so forth?
Once again, Google is 18 years old, so I won't project myself in 10 years. But definitely, I believe that this assistant domain is definitely going to evolve, and this kind of empathy thing and analyzing the mood of the user, understanding what he means, why he is angry or why he is happy, and interacting directly, taking this into account is definitely something that's going to come. I mean, this domain is definitely going to improve. We have a lot to do for now. But yeah, once again, these are still machines. You are still interacting with some kind of algorithm who doesn't know anything about you and who needs more context and more knowledge about what is your real intent. And this is definitely something what is probably going to come in the future to avoid this kind of situation.
Yeah, to my point of view, I think the biggest challenge for the future, sorry for you, but is not on the technology. I think we have a lot of technological bricks that works now, a lot of data that are available that we need to analyze, etc. The real challenge is on the cognitive science. How to make that acceptable for someone to use this type of virtual assistant. The main challenge for the future, to my point of view, is really on this side.
I think you cannot dissociate assistant technology with convergence. And for us, there's a term for that, and it's an old theory, but it's called ubiquitous computing. It's when computing is actually everywhere, sort of disappears in the background, and is so natural that we don't even think about it. So think of electricity. Electricity was dangerous, expensive, and it was difficult to handle. Today we don't think about it. It's in the walls, it's in our pockets, sometimes it's in the heart itself, for some people who need the extra juice. So technology is converging in many ways. So you look at a company not too far, Sigfox. So they are building a spread out technology so that every object can be connected. And as we amass more data, as we build more sensors, and we carry smaller and smaller computing power at the edge with us, then we become inherently the augmented human being, and the notion of virtual assistant sort of disappears. So to me, that's the evolution in the 5, 10, 15 years. And at the end, I'd like to go back to Hollywood. So there are, AI, the bad guy, and there's a movie by Spike Jonze that's called Her. So I'm not going to reveal the film here. You should definitely watch it. But in this movie, essentially, the AI is really an assistant, and the conclusion is great. Yeah, more than that, but I prefer the conclusion, because the conclusion is about the singularity, or when the artificial intelligence becomes so powerful, exponentially powerful, that the question is whether man becomes, or man needs the AI, or whether the AI needs mankind. And so that's, to me, the long term, but that's maybe for another day.
Yes, before arriving that, I'm just going to focus on the business area, which is my concern today. I do believe that AI is going to be everywhere, because today it's really already everywhere. And the virtual assistant is going to be, I guess, a personal virtual assistant. That means that you're going to perform your activity with the help, you know, of your colleagues, your friends, and one of your friends is going to be your personal assistant. And the personal assistant is going to know you, your habits, your knowledge, your expectations, your intention, and is going to adapt itself in order to bring you at the right moment, well, some help, you know, in order for you to perform your job. From a digitalization point of view, from a system development point of view, that means that probably in the meantime that systems are going to be developed, the assistance to help the use is going to be developed as well, or being, I would like to say, a constitutive part of the system. So it's going to be, well, natural.
Yes, I would like just to react on what Yann was saying. Don't you think that finally we say, okay, there are some limitations today, but it's starting, we can interact, but finally, if we look backwards, say, some generation, they've been raised with a mouse, some with a tactile display. And for the one who use the tactile display, no need, okay, it's easy and it's part of the ways they've been raised. Maybe, don't you think that in the future, next generation will just be used of that will be the daily life, they've been raised with that, meaning that if you propose something which is not that, they will not accept it. Is it something you think it's true, or some maybe not?
I mean, there is a danger with AI in general, and there is an ethical dimension. To me, AI is similarly dangerous to what genetics is, or perhaps even nuclear energy. We have the ability to take it and use it in very pragmatic ways, and I think the short term is about industrial usage and consumer, let's say, gimmicks, because at this stage it's really just gimmicks. So far so good. But down the line, the question is whether it will become a true advancement for humanity or a real danger for annihilation. So I clearly don't have an answer, but I think that the natural interface will become a reality and will be hard to go back. People born in 2050 will not know how to use a graphical interface. They just won't.
Okay, are there some other questions in the room? Yes?
So just a quick question. You were talking about more assistants being created down the road, but do you see one in the future who's gonna overcome the others and be able to answer cross-fields questions? And wouldn't the user benefit more from one assistant who's capable of crossing the fields and answer specific questions in different fields than just picking the assistant that you know is going to be good in one specific field?
Maybe, Charles-Marie, well, there are some projects in order to be able to develop universal intelligence, for sure. And it has been working for a long time now, for more than 20 years and so on. So for sure, it's the star that we are trying to reach. Are we going to reach that? I don't know. Probably yes. I would like to say yes to join what you say. But it helps us to have progresses in some specific domain and more to be able to cross-field different domains. A point that I just wanted to add regarding this discussion, I had a discussion with one of the technologists, regarding the technology that is inside its artificial intelligence techniques. So they are learning and so on. I asked him, are you learning new ways for learning, for instance? Okay, and he says one of my system writes code. Okay, the code is not written by the human being, but it's written by the machine, and that's probably something that we have to take care of, because we don't know what's going to be written down.
I would like to add some comment on your question. To my point of view, there are two different type of research. One that is mentioned on the wide artificial intelligence with the big answer to everything, okay? And the other one on providing an adequate answer for critical use. And I think there are really two areas, because if you consider a virtual assistant for surgery, for example, the answer can be critical. So in that case, you do not need to have the global answer to everything, all the pathologies, etc. You just have to have the right answer at the right time, but with a very high level of confidence. And to reach this level of confidence is as difficult as reaching the global answer to everything.
I would do a personal comment as well. Today, we are in the era of what we call narrow artificial intelligence. That means artificial intelligence systems that are able to do very well some very specific and dedicated tasks. There are a lot of research about generalized artificial intelligence, but this is still research for the time being. And something which is a little parallel to that also is we are in a narrow AI world, but with a new machine learning technique, we are not able to explain what is going inside. And some new era also is there's initiative in US called explainable artificial intelligence, where this machine learning system are able to explain what they do and to justify why they propose you that, which is not the case today. Are there some other questions? Okay, I propose then this is actually the end of the session. We started 15 minutes late, we'll finish 15 minutes late, so we're on time. Thank you very much for your attention, and thanks to the people from the panel.